Okay, everybody, it is me, Gregory Mannarino, and I'm laughing. Why is Greg Mannarino laughing? Well, for a lot of reasons, but the main one is we just, yet again, people, got new record highs across the board with regard to this market. I'm talking again, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, new all-time record high. The freaking S&P 500, new record high. The NASDAQ, new record high. The Russell 2000, new record high. I said this morning, I would not be surprised to see this market put on gains well. I would call new record highs across the board gains. We need to talk about what happened today with the Federal Reserve, with their taper. Taper? Really? Oh, okay. Maybe not. But we're going to put a lot of light on this, so just stick around a little bit. Let's move forward just, because it's fun. What else happened? So the Fed announced they were going to cut back on asset purchases. Again, keep that in mind, okay? Because I'm going to tell you what's really going on. After this announcement, all of a sudden, the stock market started to turn around a little bit. What did the Fed say they were going to do? Okay, we understand that every single month the Fed has minimum asset purchases. Minimum asset purchases. Okay. With regard to treasuries, it was $100 billion per month. And with mortgage-backed securities, it was $40 billion a month. Now, the Fed, and we knew this was coming. I told you, I had been calling it a token taper, for weeks. Okay, we did get a token taper, but what does it really mean? So let's talk about that. So instead of the Federal Reserve now buying a minimum of $100 billion in treasuries per month, now their minimum is $90 billion a month, which means there's no cap. So they just lowered the minimum. You understand? They did nothing. Okay. With regard to mortgage-backed securities, they just, again, lowered the minimum $5 billion. Again, there's no top. These are minimum purchases. The Fed can do whatever they want to. Henceforth, why? The market, just shrugged this off. And I told all of you, a couple of weeks ago, that I believed the market would go higher if the Fed announced some kind of a taper, and that's exactly what did happen. And I said that this morning. I wouldn't be surprised. I also said, if for some reason the market did fall, you should buy the dip. Because why? It was going to get bought right back up. There's just no doubt about it here. So the freak show is simply this. The Federal Reserve has really tapered nothing. All they did here, people, is lower their minimum purchase target. That's all they did. Lower their minimum purchase target. That's it. That's what they've done. It's an incredible thing. I have pages of notes I took today. I don't know how much I'm going to get to cover here. So with that said, as you and I already are well aware of, the Fed will continue to buy assets like there's no tomorrow. And they are trying to erase tomorrows for the entire middle class, continue the mechanism that we have been seeing going on, obviously throughout this current freak show president, the last freak show president, and the freak show before that. That is the creation of a new feudal system, a wipeout of the middle class, and an empowerment of the Federal Reserve. Like I have said recently, the last three presidents, Obama, Trump, and Biden, have been the best friends to the Federal Reserve in the history of the world. You take every single president prior to these last three, combine every single one, okay, and then look at the last three. The last three have done more to empower the Federal Reserve than any other three presidents combined in history. That is a fact, okay? And it's not going to change. That they are the real government. The mouthpieces that they put behind the Resolute desk are there to do one thing, to keep the people believing in a system that no longer exists. All right? It does not exist. We have no representation anymore. Okay, I've covered this a million times. Anyway, so people, look, I think today was pretty much an epic day in the market. What we found out here, okay, is, The Fed will continue to buy assets at a pace which is staggering. All right? All they did was lower fractionally, just a token taper here, okay? Lower their minimum purchases per month. There's no cap. There's no top. They did nothing. Well, let's talk about the bond market reaction. We had a slight nudge higher with regard to the yield curve, and I'm talking about almost negligible. The dollar actually finished lower. Make that up, people. It's incredible. Gold today did fall slightly. Silver put on a slight gain. Cryptocurrency is flat to slightly higher. Crude oil below 80. Below 80. Okay, it's still in la la land. And I think if crude would have finished higher, not that we need it, but this market would have closed even higher. More highs with regard to this market. And we're going to get more. The market is going higher. Okay, so just be well aware of that. And I believe the Federal Reserve, they're going to keep buying assets, not just treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. The Federal Reserve is buying the market. Okay, they have a trading desk. They don't do dances in front of it. They don't have powwows in front of it. What they do instead is they buy the market. Okay, it's managed. When you have a managed market like some piss poor third world nation, well, that's what we've turned into here. And they are running the entire show. Let us move forward here, people. So again, a lot of people are writing to me about a taper tantrum, and well, obviously that didn't happen. People don't understand what's happening to them, and I get it, and I really do get it. But I think if you follow this blog for any length of time, I don't know, give me 3 months. Stay with Greg Mannarino just 3 months if you're new here, and you're going to have a perspective on this market unlike anyone else that you can possibly know. And you are surrounded with people who get it right here on this channel. This channel is for winners. The losers, they can go someplace else. You all know that. Anyway, with regard, did you hear Powell? He addressed someone had asked him during the Q&A if it were possible that the Federal Reserve might, adjust its asset purchases, and the answer was absolutely. Oh, absolutely. We can adjust them up or down. Duh. Lovely. Oh, then we got this. He was talking about inflation. All right. Now, this is what he said. This is a quote. Inflation will fall once the economy adjusts. Well, our economy is adjusting, all right. It's in free fall. It continues to contract as a percentage of GDP at its fastest pace ever in history. You're not supposed to know that either, people. You're not supposed to know. People today, were like, hey, Greg, why did bank stocks do better? Well, let me explain this to you. Today, bank stocks did okay. And the reason for that is very, very simple. In a rising rate environment, although the Fed did keep the federal funds rate or the overnight lending rate at 0. Let's just establish that. The Federal Reserve, before we talk about the banks real quick, the Federal Reserve is trying to separate tapering from raising rates. Okay, they're walking a very fine line here. In order for the Fed to keep rates suppressed, okay, it has to buy assets. You're not supposed to know that. The Fed has no magical power, okay? The Fed has to buy assets, has to buy treasuries. You understand? And again, all they did today, it's too funny, is lower their minimum purchases per month. There's no taper at all. It's not even a token taper. It's just fake. It's something to keep people pacified while the market realizes that it's all dog shit. And the Fed's going to continue to buy assets at an epic freaking pace here. Banks are going to do well. All right. I told you guys a while back to buy the banks. Banks are going to do well moving forward. Okay. Especially if the Fed, let's say next month does another, lowers their minimum purchases. Let's say from, whatever they are now, maybe they'll lower them a couple of billion. The banks are going to do better in this environment because it is going to have a slight effect on the yield curve. Okay. Yields will go higher. So banks will do better. You understand? It's a very, very simple concept. Let us move forward here, people. I got so much stuff I want to talk about and how much I'm going to get to. Like I said, you know what? I'm done with that silly book right now. This video is already about 10 minutes long. Let's talk about some other stuff too. You know, it looks like in my last video I took a little heat, okay, for those people that were lulled into a sense of believing in something that was meant to twist their mind. Okay, what am I talking about? Many people during the Trump administration here were told to trust the plan. And what this did was lull these people into a sense of complacency. Instead of taking action like I told them over and over again, okay, what they did was they trusted the plan. And by trusting in that plan, they did not take action, okay, like they should have done. That was a psyop, you see. The whole Q thing was a psyop meant to have a reverse effect on people by getting them, lulling them into a sense of complacency and making President Trump seem like he was some kind of a god who had everything under control, some kind of a savior deity. Well, it would lull these people to do nothing. And that's exactly what it was meant to do, okay? Elevate President Trump to some kind of, deity status, having them trust in something that was never going to happen, as I said, would never happen. And these people got duped. They got duped because they were tricked into believing that it was some kind of a religion. And they had their faith in the wrong place. And they all got exactly what they asked for. There's just no doubt about it. Don't fall for these kind of psyops. That's all this was. A way to get people, again, to become complacent, to believe in a plan that never existed, okay? To believe in a person as if he were a god, that he was going to magically make things happen, like get rid of the Fed. It's just a psyop on an epic scale. And there's going to be more of these things coming down the pike. And some people who are so locked into that religion, it became a religion for them. They got very disappointed. And they're going to get more disappointed moving forward because nothing is what it seems to be. All right? It just isn't. Anyway, people, look, with that said, so here we stand, you and me. What happened today was really nothing. I wouldn't even call it a token taper. This is again, some kind of a distraction. It's a psyop. They're trying to convince you that the Fed is going to cut back on asset purchases. This is not true. The Federal Reserve is just lowering its minimum asset purchases. The Fed will continue to buy historic amounts of assets. Where's the proof? Look at the stock market. We just hit record highs across the board. Virtually no movement in the yield curve, virtually, some, okay, and a weaker dollar. So look, when I tell you things, I really want you to pay attention because maybe it's possible, just possible, that I have a little more insight into these things because I talk to everybody. And I study this stuff around the freaking clock. All right, people, that's it. Love you a lot. I will see all of you tomorrow morning. Share the video.